Welcome, Voices of Global Freedom, Magnify View. We have Kathleen Willey, website A Scandal a Day. How are you doing, Kathleen?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for being on. How are you doing, and what's the latest news?
Well, this website is really taken off. Frankly, I was kind of overwhelmed by the response. We launched it, announced it on a radio show on a Sunday night a week ago, and the next morning it was the headline on the Drudge Report, and we got about 100,000 hits in the first 2 hours after that. So
wow.
We're getting lots of comments, lots of feedback, lots of appreciation for one site that just is kind of a compilation of all of the different scandals that seem to pop up every day. It's like I said when I was first interviewed about this, and when I was thinking about putting this website together, is that the Clintons have made it very easy for me. I don't have to do a whole lot of research because there seem to be about 2 or 3 scandals a day. So, all I have to do is do the research and verify them and look into into exactly what's going on. And when you just think you're just exhausted by these things, all I can tell you is there's more coming that hasn't even been touched on yet. That, frankly, in my view, is even more serious than things we're reading already. And I just think that I think the karma's a good thing. It's finally working. I can't see how they're going to escape all of this time. They've done it up until now. And if they do, then I'll be thoroughly convinced that they do have a deal with the devil.
I'm with you. You are our heroine, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to say. I appreciate that.
Well, it's real, and a lot of people we know at high levels agree with us. Are you allowed to lift a little bit on what might be coming in what areas?
Well, the only thing I can really tell you about, it's not, it's things we already heard about before. It's going to be about the Clinton Foundation and about the things that have been going on in the foundation, things that have really been going on that people have no idea about. And that is all being researched and put together now, and it will be revealed shortly. And that's about all I can say about it right now. But that's not new news. You can see on the internet in certain places, different websites that there are things coming. More in-depth things coming about the foundation and what they've been up to for years. And it's serious. It's real serious.
You've been the victim, but people like us, we've got a highly accomplished research investigative team, some of them around the world, but it's mind-boggling about that foundation, isn't it, Backpack?
Yeah, it really is. One question that pops to mind is any idea how much administration costs? Because we hear a lot about that with nonprofits. I wonder if 80% of all their income is going back to the Clintons.
Well, that's a good question. Because everybody's getting paid huge salaries, and I think that of all of the millions that they've taken in over all these years, that only $6 million has been donated to charity and to charitable organizations, and they've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars. These are all gone.
I really say the Clinton Foundation, for everything I've seen, is just a giant scam, just to get money and pad the lining of Bill and Hillary Clinton. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's one of the biggest scams ever. What were some of the things from your website, ascandaladay.com, that prompted hundreds of thousands of views on Drudge and many other websites?
Well, I think it's just more information about the different scandals that have come up every day, and things in the past that people weren't didn't really know a whole lot about it, and I try to keep it all pretty short and concise. I think a lot of people in this country, suffer from ADD. They don't have a real long attention span, so I try not to put long, involved articles on the website. But some of them are for people who are interested. But it's just updates of what's happening from sometimes from minute to minute, and and there are a lot of things. For instance, I found a really good place. They gave all the background information on Huma Abedin, and the feedback I got back on that was incredible. I mean, people had no idea of who this woman is, except that she was Hillary's assistant. Well, more than that, I mean, she travels with her everywhere, and married to that who was it? Donald Trump called him a deviant, the Wiener. And that's about all people really knew. I mean, a lot of people didn't really even know that. So, I mean, Donald Trump made a good point. I mean, this woman has access to all of Hillary Clinton's emails, all the ones that got deleted, all the ones that didn't. She knows everything there is to know. And I'm sorry, but you can't convince me that she hasn't shared any of that with her husband.
Well,
I could be wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
And that's not the kind of person that you can trust that kind of information with. I mean, that whole thing anyway is a mystery. That whole marriage. I'm not here to criticize other people's marriages. Nobody knows what goes on in other people's homes, so it's not fair for me to surmise what's going on. All I know is that when it involves someone who wants to be president of the United States, I think we all need to educate ourselves about as much as we can about that person and what's going on in their lives, and who's in their circle. And this woman has a lot of question marks hanging over her head.
Well, Obama recently had a specific party closed to the press of transvestites, whatever they call them now.
Transgenders.
Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Just had a party with them. How about the dignity of the White House? Our editor-in-chief, Magnified View magazine, commented on this immediately Obama got in office. I've got a brief Clinton one that I've just got to get in there. That is, was elected, and around the country and the world there are counter spies. They work for different agencies helping keep our secrets. So there they were in squads of as many as 20 people, 20 agents, running around catching spies in plain terms. Somehow Clinton got in office. Within 2 months, those entire squads were eliminated, particularly the squads that were investigating Red Chinese espionage. So I just had to get that out of my system and insert it in our wonderful program. Well, back to you,
That's stunning.
Oh, it truly is. I've been at it. I'm older than a rock. I've been at it since the 1970s, including traveling with the White House press corps under President Reagan. I can't imagine that an order can come down that many levels that quickly.
No, I can't either.
Well, you experienced that as a victim. Of course, you were at the highest level in the White House. But how long did it take after the White House pantry incident, or whatever we call it, when you were assaulted? How long after that were you in trouble with Hillary, the Hun, and others? Was the question... Was that a good question?
I realized after that happened, well, you know, the same day that happened was the same day that my husband took his own life. So my life was in chaos.
Wow.
From that day forward. It still is. You know, it still has had a lasting effect on me and my children and our lives. I mean, it's just one of those things that you never get over. You just have to figure out how to live with it. But as far as the White House, they did give me a part-time job. I mean, that was the reason I went to see President Clinton that day anyway, because I found out that my husband was in some serious financial difficulty, and I had been volunteering at the White House, and I just finally said, my volunteer days are over. I have to have a job, and I'm just here to ask you for a job. And I was highly criticized by a lot of people, a lot of feminists, for who did she think she was, going to see him directly and ask him for a job? Well, who I thought I was, and who I knew I was a friend of his. And my husband and I had worked long and hard for Bill Clinton, and we started a Virginian for Clinton, and we'd raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for him, and he considered him a friend. And so when I went in, and I had also, and all of the time, of course, you know how that works. I mean, it was all volunteer work that we were doing, all of it. I mean, we set up the headquarters in my husband's suite of offices, and you know, carried all the weight of that, the financial weight of that, and that's just how those things work. But we didn't have a problem with it at the time because we believed in him at the time. So that's why I went to see him. I just didn't have any problem going and asking him for help. And so eventually, that was on November 29th. It was the Monday after Thanksgiving, and eventually, at the time, I was working in the White House social office in the East Wing as a volunteer. And after I came up for air after my husband's death, and I just decided that, I just needed to get out of the house and just get back to work and pursue a paying job. I went back there, and finally in March, I was given a part-time job in White House counsel's office in the West Wing. And that only lasted for about a year and a half. A new counsel came in and brought in his whole new staff, and so my job ended then. But I was promised that I would be given another job. And the other thing that I was criticized for, again, by feminists, saying, well, if she'd been harassed by him and if she'd been assaulted by him, why did she want a job back in the White House? Well, I never asked for a job in the White House. I asked for a job anywhere in the federal government. Richmond would have been great, but at that point in my life, I would have taken anything. And I was really strung along. I'll have to say that. It took me a long time to figure it out, but I was strung along for years on that. And I just think that they strung me along because Clinton wanted me to think that he was helping me, and he also wanted to keep me quiet. He had no idea if he thought I was going to go public with that, and I never had any intention of going public with it. It was so shocking and unbelievable to me, and embarrassing, and every other word you can think of. I just never. It was going to go to my grave with me, and unfortunately, I shared it with some close friends, and when Paula Jones filed her sexual harassment lawsuit against the president, her attorneys started looking for people. And Michael Isikoff at Newsweek magazine was doing some digging, and eventually they found me. And they was subpoenaed to be deposed in her lawsuit against the president for sexual harassment. And my attorney and I worked for months and months and months to try to stay out of that. We did everything legally known to man to stay out of that whole situation. But eventually, I had to go. And when they found out that I had been subpoenaed is when it was in the fall of '97 is when things started getting real scary around here, and things started happening. Animals started missing, car vandalized, and I don't live in a subdivision, with paved streets. I am very hard to find. I used to live in a subdivision, and it was easy to find. But for some reason, for a lot of reasons, I didn't want to live there in that house anymore. My children were grown and in college and medical school, and it was too big of a house, and I just had too many bad memories. And so I found a little house out in the country that was just perfect for me. So. And it's on private roads, and very difficult to find. So it's not like, they could just run into me. And I finally realized that they were watching me, and I do believe that they were listening into my phone conversations. And like I said, I had pets disappear. I came home one night and found a very young, healthy, beautiful cat, stone cold dead on my back deck, and there was no access to that deck from the ground. The only access to that deck was from inside of my house, and so all of those kinds of things. And they were following me into stores, and people were calling me that afterward, people that I knew. They told me that people would come in after I left to ask a lot of questions about me, and it's like I said, I just felt it was terrifying. It was just terrifying, and I was alone, and they knew that, and that was hard. You just started hearing bumps in the night, and it was a hard way to live. And the worst thing that happened were it was all bad, but 2 days before that deposition, I was approached by a man. I was out walking very early in the morning. I had recently had neck surgery, and my doctor had given me the okay to go out and start doing a little bit of walking. And I still had a collar on, and it was daybreak almost. I was having trouble sleeping, and I went out with my dogs, and I was walking, and I was new to the neighborhood, and I didn't know everybody that was out here. We all had a little bit of land, and so we're all spread out. And somebody was just out jogging, like I'd seen before. And I thought it was just a neighbor I hadn't yet met. And he stopped me and called me by name and asked me how I was. And he asked me if I'd ever found my cat. And I wasn't surprised by that question because I put up flyers all over around here with his name. And, he had his name collar on and his picture. And anyway, he asked me if I ever found him, and I said no. I said no. He was just a member of the family, and I never. Every day when I go out and I come home, I expect to see him sitting on the front porch. He's never come home, and then he said, his name was Bullseye, and he said, that Bullseye was a nice cat, and I said. So then you've seen him? Have you ever seen him? And he said, no, he was a really nice cat. And I just thought to myself, something's up here. I could just tell. And he had like I said, he had a name tag on, and he just started asking me questions, about how are your children? He asked me how they were by name, and he mentioned where they lived, and that's when I knew. I thought to myself, well, my life is going to end right here, knowing that 2 days later that was going to be that deposition, and I truly expected something bad to happen. And so I just finally started demanding, asking him who he was and what he wanted. And he just was evil-looking. He was kind of nondescript. He was hard to describe. He had on dark sweatshirt, sweatpants, and a baseball hat. and so I didn't have a real good impression of what he really looked like. And he finally just looked at me and he said, "You're just not getting the message, are you?"
Wow.
And,
Wow.
you know, at that point, I just started backing up and realized that it was time to get out of there. And I had 3 dogs with me, and the only, you know, and the other thing too was my doctor had said, "You can go out and walk, but you walk slowly. You know, you're going to re-injure yourself." And at that point, I literally started running. I was about a half a mile from home, and I started running. And a short distance away from where he was, I turned back around, and he disappeared into the woods. And that's when I came home. And I just remember walking in his house, sitting down in a chair and thinking, this is way bigger than I am. I mean, I'm way out of my element on this one. And they basically were warning me that I better just go in and lie under oath about what had happened. And I'll be very honest with you. When they threaten your children and they threaten your livelihood and your pets and your home and your car and and your possessions and your property. That's one thing. But like I said, when it got down to threatening my children, that's when I thought to myself, I'm going to have to lie here. I'm just going to have to do it, and except for the consequences at some point. That's how terrified I was. And I never told my attorney at the time. I didn't tell him until weeks later what had happened. He had no idea that had happened 2 days before we went into that deposition. And it was held on a Saturday here in Richmond in a federal courthouse because the federal judge wanted to dodge the press, and we were extremely lucky in doing so. We went into his courtroom, and he tried to negotiate some kind of an agreement beforehand, and we weren't negotiating anything. And the president's attorney, Bob Bennett, was there, trying to, making nice to me. I mean, they've been offering us all kinds of help ever since it started, because they knew that I was not a witness, that they wanted to be deposed. And they offered all the services of their big law firm in Washington. I mean, anything you want, you name it. We don't need Kathleen to go through this, blah, blah, blah. And I knew exactly what they were doing. And anyway, it just got down to the point, all of this negotiation was kind of went on during the morning, and we took a lunch break. And an interesting thing happened. We walked back to my attorney's office, which happened to be right across the street from the federal courthouse, and we were eating lunch, and everything was still going smoothly. I mean, Bob Bennett had tried many times in person. He traveled down here to Richmond, and we'd met in my attorney's his office, his conference room, and many times he tried to get out of me what had happened. And he kept saying, well, he just made a rude pass at you, right? And he just, he was just acting boyish and, brash.
Yeah.
The only thing I said to him was it was unwelcome and unexpected, and that's all I gave him. And while we were having lunch, his cell phone rang. And he looked down at the screen, and I realized later it was all planned. And we heard him say, "Yes, sir." "Yes, sir. We're fine. Things seem to be going well, and we're having lunch now." And then he looks at us and he said, "Excuse me, but my client's on the line. I need to take this call in another room." Well, it was Clinton.
Sure.
And just letting me know that all eyes are on me. And so we didn't hear any more of that conversation. But, he came back in and mentioned something like the president wishes you well and hopes that you're doing fine and blah, blah, blah. And I just remember Dan and I looking at each other thinking to ourselves, right. Who do you think he's kidding? And so we went back after lunch, and we finally got down to it. I had been married to a lawyer for 23 years, and so I knew a little bit about how how to dance the dance, which I did. And it finally just got down to answering the question. And there were clerks there in the office, in the courtroom, and my attorney asked for recess, and he also asked that everybody leave the room. And the only people we wanted in there were obviously the judge and us and Bob Bennett and the man who was videotaping the whole thing, and Paula Jones's attorneys. And I just remember the only place we could find to go and sit was the jury room, and we sat down. And he just looked at me and said, "Are you ready for this?" And I said, "I guess I've got to be." Because I remember, he still didn't know what had happened 2 days before that. He had no idea that I'd been threatened. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, I was afraid to tell him. I was afraid to tell anybody at that point. So, I went in and started answering the questions, and I just remember, the only thing I can remember distinctly was the horrified and shocked look on Bob Bennett's face, because he had no idea what was coming. And his cross-examination didn't amount to a whole lot.
Right.
And anyway, when it was over, the judge said we would all be getting a copy of the videotape, and my very brilliant attorney, Dan Geckert, said, "Your Honor, we would like you to keep ours here in the courthouse in your safe, please."
Uh-huh.
Which he did. And the others took their copies. And the judge looked at everybody. And this was a no-nonsense judge. And he said, this video had better never see the light of day. Well, it was on the streets within 72 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how those people played. And they played dirty. And they're still playing dirty. And it's been a long, that was 97, so it would have been, 18 years. And it's just been, a long, hard 18 years of survival. And, when you're in a situation like I've been, it's hard to find a job. People don't know what to think of you. And even though I had close friends, real close friends, I just was never able to find meaningful, long-lasting work. And I was living off of my insurance refund fund from when my husband died, but that doesn't last forever. And I just literally ran out of money. And, I just thought, I just remember thinking to myself, one day I'm just going to look at my checking account, it's going to be zero. And that happened. And, I look back to this day, and I second-guess myself, but I know I did the right thing, because very early on in that story, I was offered obscene amounts of money by the tabloids, and the kind of money that other witnesses were offered and took. And as much as that would have helped me, and as much as I know I would probably be okay today if I had accepted that kind of money, I knew that my credibility would be gone, just shot. And that meant more to me than anything else. And I turned money down. And, I've lived with the after effects since then.
Let me interject. Let us interject, Kathleen. You come to us with an important two words. That is fortitude and integrity. It's our pleasure and privilege to work with you. Fortitude, of course, means the ability to overcome adversity. You are an incredible gal of integrity that continues to overcome adversity. When we come back after Backpack here announces who we are and our pleasure and privilege to have you on. We'd like to know, incidentally, you've lit up our emails this morning. You've really won over the audience. There's a lot of good people out here eager to help you. Over to Backpack. Then I'd like to pick up any threats you're under currently. Backpack.
Voices of Global Freedom, magnifyview.com. Honored and privileged to interview with Kathleen Willey. ascandaladay.com. Please go check out ascandaladay.com. Great website, and it's doing a lot of wonderful things to get the word out to bring down some of these horrific scandals in our society. Over to you, Yoda.
Well said, Backpack. Are you under obvious financial pressure now? My personal experience with people in your predicament is that everybody wants to interview you for a job, but then nobody wants to hire you. Have you had that experience?
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I finally realized that, I had a lot of interviews where people just wanted to meet me.
Yeah. A quick...
And I got strung along.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, big time. And, it really messed up my head. I mean, because I've always liked to think that I'm a trusting person, but when you start losing trust in people, it really affects your life. It really does affect your life. And I don't want that to happen. I still, to this day, I don't want to live a life of not being able to trust people. It's not a good feeling, and I know there are good people in this world. I mean, I've met good people just through this website, and the things that people have said, and the encouragement and the support that I've gotten, and I know they're out there, and the thing that I want to say here that's real important to me, I'm not on the show with you to talk about my financial situation. That's a part of the territory. I mean, everybody who's been in this all of the women involved in this, and there are others that nobody knows about that have called me, and I've asked them to come forward. I've got a tip line on my website that if you're out there and you've lived with this horror for how many years with Bill Clinton, then if you feel like you've got it in you to come forward and just get it off your chest because it's so traumatizing, and you blame yourself, and you wonder what you did wrong, and did you invite it, and did you have on the wrong dress, and I mean, the kind of things that women go through. And if you're just sick of living with that, then step forward, because there's safety in numbers, and we'll take care of you. And we'll make sure that you stay safe. And I can guarantee that. The people that I'm working with have guaranteed that to me.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that.
Well,
and I want people to be sure of that. And they might still be so afraid that they're not going to do that.
Exactly.
But, I've seen some comments on the website from one person especially who was involved in this whole thing, and who I have great admiration for, and I think that's major for her, because she really wanted to put all of this behind her, and all of a sudden her name is popping up, and she's having things to say, and I'm very proud of her for doing that, because I know how hard it is for her. And, I think that after her experience, I think she had family support. Back then, when she went through the horrors that she went through, I'm not sure that counseling was all that big of a deal, and nobody even knew what the word sexual harassment meant. And I think a lot of it she's had to internalize. And all of the women that the names that you've heard have all lived through some terrible times. I mean, divorces and financial situations and bankruptcies and not being able to get jobs, and It all lays at the feet of Hillary Clinton. Period. End of story.
Hillary.
All her doing.
Clinton's calling his wife Hillary the Hun now.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yep, that's what I call her, the Hun.
We've dealt with similar situations for the past 4 decades. As I commented, Kathleen, everybody wants to interview you for a job, I guess correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to their bowling team and say they interviewed a celebrity. They really don't have a job.
Exactly.
Our founding editor of our sister magazine, MagnifiedView.com, we call her Janorama. She has access to people around the country that will want to employ you virtually. By that I mean you'll be able to take your skill base and work from home. And these are straight up people, you know, there are more good people out there that in the kind of business we're in, Backpack, that we often overlook, don't we?
Yeah, that's right.
They really are.
There's a lot of really good people. I'm called Backpack because I spent 4 years traveling across the U.S. and a lot of good people helped me. I got everything in one bag and just started hiking, and now we're almost coming on 5 years. But I found a lot of good people. Sometimes when we watch the news and everything, it seems like different, but there really are a lot of really good people out there.
I have a nephew that did that. He traveled around the world.
That's great.
He got on a bicycle one January on the East Coast and drove across the country and got all the way over and climbed Mount Everest. And
wow.
his goal is to climb the highest mountains in the world.
Wow.
That's great.
And all along the way, he's counted on good people who've taken him in and given him shelter and food, and he's had experiences that are just second to none. Unbelievable. So I know what you're talking about there, about that. I mean, there are good people out there that will do anything for you. Or just like I said, they'll give you a bed to sleep in and food on the table for a couple of days until you get to your next stop, wherever that is. And they're out there. And you know what? There's a whole lot more good people out there than there are bad.
Yeah,
there really
are.
Yeah.
And a typical ploy of communism is they get everybody on the rope. So the good people are scratching around trying to earn a living. And the liberals are laid back hoping for free stuff.
Right.
That's how communism has worked around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I've existed under it personally in the People's Republic of China and elsewhere. Since you've come back to public notice, are you under any threats now, any shenanigans, any monkey business?
None that I've noticed.
All right.
The only thing that the only thing that's happened, and like I said, I'm not paranoid. I'm just aware. Yeah, I'm doing a whole lot more double locking of doors and just being aware. And I've got a motion detector light on the back of the house.
Lovely.
On the back deck. And that light's been coming on a lot here lately.
Okay.
And it really kind of startles me. And I really think it's just deer. Or, I've got raccoons and you name it around here. So I haven't seen any evidence of anything diabolical out there. I think it's just deer roaming around. But like I said, that up until then, except for that, I'm fine. I am much more aware of my surroundings, like I was before.
We teach law enforcement and the intel community. We have for a long time. And your best home defense is that motion-actuated light. That's wonderful, really.
Right.
You will get the raccoons and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your best defense is publicity. So we're going to do that with you. We're going to get you the publicity. Your timing...
Well, I think you're right. I think that is the more you're out there, safer you are. Right.
People, you've had enough experience. Most people don't get that. Your timing is good because of the upcoming election with Hillary the Hun, of course. So your timing is excellent in coming out again.
Well, I wanted to be president.
Say again?
And we talked about this yesterday. We chatted before this interview just to get to know each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, my purpose on earth is not to keep this woman from becoming president. I don't think God put me here for that. He put me here for other things. But I think God puts us here on this earth to share information if we think it's important and relevant to situations that come along in our world. And I just know that I've got information about this woman and about her husband that the country, people in this country should know about. And we've got a lot of low information voters out there who think, especially young women. There's a lot of young women that weren't even born when all this was going on, or they were too young, or their parents kept them away from the television because of the speediness of the whole topic, and they had no idea of what was going on. And they're the ones who are thinking, oh, well, this is going to be really cool. I'm going to be voting. I'm going to vote for the first woman president of the United States. Well, they need to be educated. And one of the things that I'm looking into, and especially now with the new school year starting, is maybe speaking on college campuses, because they're the young voters. They're the low information voters, a lot of them, that need to be educated. And I would love to talk to them. I mean, most college campuses now have young, Republicans clubs. I mean, I'm certainly not going to be invited by any Democratic clubs, but young Republican clubs that hopefully I would think they would like to hear me speak. At least, maybe I'm wrong, but at least they might at least think that it would be a good idea to give me the option, at least to tell them about my experiences and make their own decisions from what they hear from me.
You're not wrong at all, Kathleen. It's all about public relations. It's really all about promotion. You can't hide your light under a bushel. We will help facilitate that, as will our dear friend that heads up Leading Edge Radio, the network.
Well, it's been wonderful.
We're going to get...
Martin.
Oh, he's a hell of a guy.
Tom Watson has helped me with the website, and I couldn't ask for a finer friend. I mean, Greg Martin is a fine man.
He is.
And I have learned that. He offered me my own radio show, and I took him up on the offer. But things came along. I've been fighting foreclosure, and in today's world, your mortgage gets sold like every other month practically, but usually every other year. And once that happens, the whole thing starts up again.
Yeah.
And up until now, I've been extremely lucky because I just decided I just needed to educate myself on what foreclosure is all about, especially after hearing the horror stories I've heard about what the things that these greedy banks have done to people. And I've never looked to get out of paying my house payment. I just, I dealt with a predatory loaner, and I'm underwater, and I'm not looking for a handout. I'm just looking for a workout. That's all I'm looking for. Just something that's fair.
Well, you reach a point with the predicament you were placed in. Anybody would reach the point where there's a lot of month at the end of the money.
Yeah, exactly.
And with our kind of upbringing, yours and ours, we don't take handouts and we don't, and all that stuff. But
that's true.
When you reach the point, you really need the help with it.
You do.
There's a favorite expression of mine is it takes the courage of a strong woman to know and accept help when she needs it. That would be you. That's you, girl. Isn't it, Backpack?
Yeah, we also want to say thank you to Greg Martin. He is the CEO, president of Leading Edge Radio Network. It's an honor and privilege to work with him and to have Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifiedView.com, working with as a syndicate of Leading Edge Radio Network. Great guy, wonderful guy to work with, and we encourage everybody to reach out to Leading Edge Radio Network.
He has he's just a wonderful man. And a good Christian man, and he's been so encouraging and helpful to me. And one day he just sent me an email and said, "I'd like to talk to you."
That's him.
It was like a gift from God.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about through this entire show. I mean, he's one of those good people out there.
Yeah.
And he's helped me a lot. And we worked hard on getting this website up, and we've gotten a tremendous response. And I think everything all of a sudden is starting to happen. Certainly not just because of me at all, but I mean, all of a sudden the feds are starting to realize that they really need to look into what she's doing, and there are people out there that are really looking into the foundation and what they've really been up to, and sooner or later, this stuff is all going to catch up with these people.
Yeah.
They've gotten away with an awful lot for an awful long time, but I think I think the time's up. I think that they're facing some things here that they never thought they would. I think when you've got a strong-minded, strong-willed judge like Judge Sullivan in the federal court, who's basically saying to Cheryl Mills and Uma Abedin and Hillary Clinton, I want to see those emails by the end of the week. They know that he means business.
Yeah.
That he means business. And I think up until now, people have been kind of afraid of the Clintons. And that's how they've gotten away with everything for so long. I mean, if you and I, any of us, had just ignored a subpoena, we know where we'd be today. We'd be there in an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
We're the luckiest guys in the world, Kathleen. We're really not radio professionals. We're a couple guys that happen to be on radio. The audience knows that, but we are really fortunate. We have the highest profile VIPs and celebrities on. For example, former director CIA, former head of SEAL Team 6, on and on and on.
Well, you can't ask any better than that.
No, we're up.
You're talking about true patriots.
Yeah.
And that means more to me than anything.
We're up in the thin air. My point is that we, Backpack and I, are invited on more shows than we literally can appear on.
Great.
And we have VIPs, highest echelon, contacting us to be on our show.
Right.
My point being, we will begin over the weekend now referring you to a lot of shows to appear on.
Great.
Since you've been on today, since our conversation yesterday, we've had five real experts listening in, and we're pleased to tell you you're doing a great job on air. So
thank you.
Well, that's you. So we'll be referring you without reservation to a bunch of shows. Getting the word out, as you've said, is really where it's at. To help save our democracy, is what you're doing. And God bless you, girl.
Yeah, God bless you. We support your website at scandaladay.com. What are some of the surprises and some of the tips, without getting into specifics, but what are some of the things you're seeing feedback from other people on that website?
A lot of it is surprise about stories that I put on the website, things that people never really knew about that are important that they should know. We have had we've had some women who contacted us with information that's important that we're talking to about coming forward. And they're still worried about their anonymity, which, of course, if they don't want their names told, their names are not going to be told. But if they want to tell their stories and we think that they're valid, then we'll certainly allow them to tell their stories. And that, to me, is that's encouraging to me when I start seeing these women starting to come forward. And it's not happening overnight, but it's happening slowly. But I think that women who've been in this situation with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are starting to realize that they don't have to suffer with this anymore. And they have suffered for years. And they've lived with it for years. It's a terrible way to live. And nobody would want their mothers or their sisters or their daughters or their nieces to have to go through this. And so that to me is extremely encouraging. And I think the sheer numbers of people who go to the website is what has surprised me the most. I've really been overwhelmed by the numbers of people who are going there. And it's just a matter. It's like you said. It's a PR game. It's just getting the word out. And when people ask, they want to help. What can I do? And at this point, I just say, just spread the word. Just spread the word. And today on social media, it's easy to do. And I just keep getting more and more new people every day. And with all kinds of encouraging remarks and support and like I said, surprise. And God, I never knew that. I wish I'd known that before. And thank you for putting this website up and educating us about these things. So, needless to say, I'm certainly not on the Clinton best friend list at this point. But, no. So what? I'm not afraid of them anymore.
Let me introduce with pride that Backpack here earned a hell of a living as a computer expert for people like the CDC, government, Northrop Grumman, Cox, before he went straight. He became a journalist, so he is the past master of social media. Frankly, we wouldn't have a radio program. He is all over that Kathleen like white on rice.
Well, thank God somebody is, because it's still a work in progress with me.
Not me. I can screw up I can screw up a cannonball. So he will have this up his team immediately on YouTube.
Oh, good.
And, well, hell, I'll embarrass him again. Backpack, tell our Kathleen and the fine audience what you do on that social media a little bit, if you will, brother.
Well, we'll be getting this out to hundreds of thousands of people or members of thousands, tens of thousands of groups on Facebook that are conservative, patriotic, and we'll be getting out Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, many, many other sites that get out. It'll get out far and wide, along with scandaladay.com, and we'll be featuring this on Leading Edge Radio Network. We're going to get it immediately when we're done. We can get the MP3 file out to our good friend Greg Martin, Leading Edge Radio Network. We're interviewing with Kathleen Willey and scandaladay.com. So with your experiences, Kathleen, have you moved from being a Democrat to a Republican?
Is the Pope Catholic? Of course I have. Of course I have. I think the thing that was the most surprising, just to show how naive I was, I spent many years supporting Democrats on the local and the state and then on the federal level with fundraisers and you name it, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. and enjoying every minute of it. I was a true dedicated Democrat. And I am here to tell you that not one single Democrat came to my support.
Yeah.
Not one. Not one on the local level, not one here in the state level, people who that I worked on their campaigns. I mean, I helped Mary Sue Terry become the first woman attorney general in this state. She came out against me. I helped get I worked on Doug Wilder's campaign. He became the first African-American governor in this country. I'm not even going to tell you what he said about me. And it was really, it was a real eye-opening disappointment for me. It really was.
I got one for you.
What?
My sainted mother, back in the 50s, was a Democrat councilman in Cleveland. Can you believe that? She also wrote a column for a large Catholic daily, and she guided tours to Lourdes, France. But in addition, our firm hand at the helm, Jana Rama, our editor-in-chief, was an elected Democrat in Chicago and then out here in California. But she took the 12-step rehab program, and she's a fierce conservative now also, Kathleen.
Yeah, people ask me early on, so I'm a Democrat in recovery. But no more.
I'm pretty simple. As an old street dog cop, I learned early that if I got killed or shot up, the Democrats could care less.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if I used force in an arrest of some creep, I was the bad guy.
Yep.
So I was instantly Republican. Of course.
Right. I'm sure.
I did it the easy way.
It's like the military. You don't see a whole lot of liberal people in the military.
No. I
don't think there's one.
It's now about 90% or more conservatives. We work with the military, Kathleen. We work with special ops. Anyway, it's up in the 90 percentile now that are conservative.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Another point.
I'm not at all surprised.
Another major point to be made is that most of the majority of major urban cities, Chicago, Baltimore is a great example. They're all 100% Democrat run, or most or near that, and you can see they're falling apart.
They are.
So that's a good example.
Before our eyes, the murder rate has skyrocketed. I mean, they're falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And Obama's not doing anything for the African Americans. He's doing nothing for them.
Well, he's blaming
their
the
lives
cops.
haven't gotten better since he's been in office. He's been in office for 8 years. Their lives haven't gotten any. They've gotten worse.
Yeah, and blaming the cops.
Yeah, of course. I ain't Republicans.
Yeah.
We just met a guy from Mexico, and he was all into Obama at first, and all the lies that he said, and then now he hates Obama because he said Obama was just a bunch of lies.
Really?
Yeah, he was really, it's all about people when they run and they make up stuff just to get in that seat, and then they completely turn around.
What he did. He pulled the wool over a lot of people's eyes. Did anybody think 8 years ago that we were going to be looking at a nuclear pact with Iran, for God's sake? I mean, did anybody? I mean, when you look at what's happened in 8 years, 7 years now, and you look at the way our world's changed, and I mean, we thought we were in trouble during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, that pales in comparison to what's going on today.
I'm going to quote you with that, Kathleen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it was peanuts.
Yeah.
Compared to this.
It is.
That's one of the groups we're supporting with CIA former Director Woolsey and Lieutenant Colonel Allen B. West and General Vallely, many other luminaries, including Claire Lopez. We just recently had her on the show. They were all featured on the podium at the Stop Iran rally in New York, Times Square. I recommend our listeners go check out stopiranrally.org. I say again, stopiranrally.org. So that's it's being decided in Congress through October. The 60-day count has taken, but we're seeing that is incredible. Just it's more than a white flag. Obama wants Iran to be the sole power in the Middle East, is what we learned from Claire Lopez.
Wow.
It's amazing times that we're living through.
And when is that? October?
Sometime in October is when...
I'm going to get involved in that.
Yeah. That's a great website to check out.
What is it again? StopIran.com?
StopIranRally.org.
Okay.
We're all backing that. It's on our websites. It's also on MagnifiedView.com and GlobalFreedomRadio.com. You can learn more about the movement on those websites.
Here's another one for you, point of interest, Kathleen.
Okay.
Look up terrorist training camp.
Yeah, we have a website that's gotten millions of views. It's called terrorcamps.com. Terrorcamps.com is revealing that we have terror camps from sea to shining sea, and this is part of the Obama nation of our country. He is a Muslim from everything we see, and these camps are allowed to go on because the FBI can't use the word Islam or terror. They have to call it communal living. So they're hardened compounds, secure with, they do small arms training with a gate around it, barbed wire with security guards, heavily guarded compounds in remote areas. There's at least 35 of them we're seeing. But
I have one near me.
Wow, really? Huh.
Yeah, I've got one near me.
That's amazing.
I've got a good friend.
Uh-huh.
You probably heard of his name. His name is Dave Galbitz.
Mm-hmm.
He is really the real counterterrorism expert, and he found a Pakistani training camp in a county in the next county over, and the law enforcement can't go anywhere now.
We'd like to talk to him, Kathleen.
Sure.
If you can, give him our address, please.
I will.
Have him mark Kathleen in the subject line.
Okay.
Because we get zillions of emails. We want to...
Well, he's a good guy, and he's got his own website, too.
Okay.
And he's, you can find him, too. But I've got his phone number and his email, and I will get in touch with him this afternoon, and as soon as we get off the phone, and tell him to get in touch with you all.
Excellent.
Because he knows his stuff. He's gone into Syria and Pakistan and Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan on secret missions, and he was funded for a while. In fact, I was going to believe it or not, I was going to be a member of one of his teams as an admin person. They were going to be basically headquartered in India, and I was going to stay there and do all of the admin part of the mission while they went on and did all of their survey, all their secret mission stuff. And the people that were sponsoring it, the money dried up. It was when the economy started to go south, and the money dried up. And so he's basically been doing this work on his own dime.
God bless him.
And he, like a lot of other people, had made lots of sacrifices and lost a lot.
Yeah.
But he's such a patriot that this is what he does. And his son works with him.
A favor.
In fact, his son went undercover and became a Muslim.
Wow.
And went into the mosque with care, and he uncovered more information about them than I think anybody else has before. And they're constantly, they've got a price on their heads. So, but it hasn't stopped them. They're amazing. They're just amazing. They really are.
Favor,
I want you to talk to them and get in touch with them.
Do me a favor.
Hmm?
Ask him to look at the magnifiedview.com.
Okay.
A top tab says on the front page says Yoda's Safe House. Yoda, that's me.
Right.
Have him take a glance at that. It says how heroic I am. Anyway.
Okay.
It's an accurate thing. It's a bit aggrandized about how heroic I am, but it'll make sense to him.
Okay.
There are 200 countries in the world, Kathleen. I was with a counter-terrorist training team.
Mm-hmm.
We did 110 countries in 11 years.
Good Lord.
Been there, took paper money from each country, put them in a baggie, had some cognac one night and counted them up. 110 countries in 11 years.
That's amazing.
We're going to do a series with you. We'll talk off air at least over the weekend, won't we, Becca?
Yeah, we're honored and privileged to be working with you. And we look forward to hearing from your friend about how we can work together as well. But we'll definitely do a series. One of the questions we got is, you have a book that came out 2007 called Target, Caught in the Crosshairs of Bill and Hillary Clinton. What are some of the highlights and takeaways of the book?
Well, it's basically my story. And from when I was young, and how I got involved in politics, and about the entire situation with Clinton and Paul Jones's lawsuit, and all that went with it, right up to impeachment. And it's just my story.
Time to revive that book, isn't it?
It's on Amazon. You can find it at Amazon.com.
Well, tell Kathleen about our main man here. We'll twist his arm to help her.
We have a friend here, Richard Kuritz. He's with strategiespr.com and also the La Jolla Writers Conference.com. Mm-hmm. And he's our contact. He helps a lot of aspiring authors go the right way, because we have known stories of people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and got nothing out of their book sales.
Exactly.
End up with a garage with 5,000 books. So anyway, he'll be the guy we'll set you up with, and he'll help you a lot. Him and his wife work really hard at helping authors, because they know they've come across so many authors who, unfortunately, there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there when it comes to getting a book.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's a great contact. I have also a book called Looking Glass Shattered that I'm revising now. It's on Kindle and paperback as well on Amazon. Mm-hmm. We're in the works of redoing that. It's part of my adventure of the 4 years and how much I transformed during that odyssey of 4 years. So we're excited to see the book. Do you have other books in the works?
No.
Okay.
I've just kind of stuck with that one. And I've thought about kind of another one, but I really haven't. It's basically in my head. No, I really haven't done anything more than it's just in my head. But maybe at some point, when we see where all of this is going, and when I can find the time to just kind of sit down and start working on something like that, it'd probably be a good thing for me to do, and hopefully, help other people who have found themselves in the same situation. A lot of people today are desperate, and they have nowhere to go, and they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And that's how people wind up homeless. There's a lot of people homeless today that used to have good jobs.
Thank you.
And
yeah,
I just refuse. If I lose my house, I don't have anywhere to go. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
And I've got animals. I have wonderful animals that I'm responsible for. That have a nice little life out here in the country with me, and we come as a team. Where I go, they go, and I've got a lot to fight for. And like I said, I'm not looking for any freebies here. I'm looking for a bank that'll work with me. And up until now, they've all just dug in their heels, and I've dug in mine too.
Good.
And so far, all I can say is I'm still here. That's a good thing.
We're
didn't like it, but I've just managed to. Like I said, I've gotten on the internet. Thank God for the internet. Sometimes you want to take your computer and throw it in the creek. They drive you crazy. But thank God for the internet, because it's the way I've educated myself. And I had a good friend that was going through the same thing, and we both we worked together as a team and shared our experiences, with it, and each gave each other our own little nuggets of information that we figured out working with these different banks that we'd had to deal with. And it was kind of like a buddy that people that you need in a situation like that. There's just a lot of people that just lost their homes they never should have. And I'm traumatized. I mean, their young children had to put their beloved pets in the pounds, and they had nowhere to go. And I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And people who are being treated for end-stage cancer, and just threw them out on the street. And it's just about the bottom line. That's all people care about. These banks. That's all they care about.
We're out with the police, Kathleen. And never a tour goes by you don't run into a homeless. We take them right to a fast food store and we stick some money in their pocket and hope for the best. And mind
homeless
you,
veterans. Oh my God!
Every time I'm out, some copper does that, like you said. And the liberals have it that you're actually not allowed to do that in a police car, but they do it anyway.
Well, who cares what they say?
I'm really proud of these coppers, the men and women alike. They're my heroes, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. They've got thankless jobs today.
Oh.
They really do, and they can't. I mean, that whole thing in Baltimore, I mean, we couldn't do their jobs.
We're featuring.
I mean, they must be so. They just be so disheartened and discouraged. I mean, you can't blame them.
We're featuring a friend of ours, Backpack, the good lieutenant.
Yeah, one of our great friends, Lieutenant Randy Sutton. He was the most decorated street cop in Vegas. He was in 5 firefights, and he retired, and now he is the national spokesperson for defendingtheshield.org. I say again, defendingtheshield.org. So he is speaking out. He's been on Fox and Friends about every other week, talking about any situation to help our law enforcement and how...
I know who you're talking about now.
He's a great guy. He's often on Fox, and he's really does a wonderful job working with defendingtheshield.org. And he's also a published author. Please go check out his books. He's got several books. One is called The Power of Legacy, a must-buy, and True Cop Stories. If you search his name, Randy Sutton, on Amazon, you'll find his books. Actually, our friend Richard Kurtz, we talked to, helps Randy also with his book. So he's helped him a great amount. So have you thought about doing some public speaking tours where you go around and...
I'd love to.
I actually have another...
where to start.
That's great.
All right.
I mean, I tried, in fact, I joined some of these speaking bureaus right at first, after all this started happening with me, but I never got one booking.
Here's how it works. Here's how it works.
That was more scams that I ran into.
I know. Here's how it works. We're going to send you a friend. He's past president of the Screenwriters Guild. That's a big deal. A lot. All right.
Well, you're not kidding.
So he will send you to the right agent. Because it's really a big deal. Screenwriters Guild. Anyway. Prestige guy, he will send, it's all about the agent, see. And there's
and there's a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones.
Mostly con games.
Yeah.
You send them money, they couldn't get you to speak at a local grocery store. All right. We are so fortunate, Kathleen, to have friends everywhere. Well,
I know. It's amazing.
But we do.
You really are.
Aren't we lucky back then?
Yeah, another person we're friendly with is Julie Austin. She's the CEO, president of SpeakerSponsor.com, and she helps a lot of people get paid to travel and do speaking engagements. She's a great person. I've interviewed her before. But there are some good opportunities out there, too.
Great.
And it's a great way to sell books, because that's really the best way to make the most money out of a book is have some of them and sell them at the end of the speech.
At the speech, yeah. Exactly.
So that's a great opportunity. So, well, it's been a pleasure.
I know the opportunities are out there. I just, I've just been kind of just scrambling here all these years and never really connected with the right people.
Well, that's 90.
I just never really got there.
90% of it is what you just said, really. I believe in luck. And there's a luck component of that.
Yeah.
Would you send us a list of your admin, PR, whatever category you want, skill set?
Sure.
Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because our friends and contacts will ask about your skill set.
Okay.
What aren't we smart enough to ask you today?
I think we covered everything. I can't figure anything.
All right. We're going to make this into a series, meaning we'll have you back on.
Okay.
It'll be featured all over hell, and it'll be prominent under the masthead of themagnifiedview.com.
Okay.
You'll also be up on their blog roll. You know what a blog roll is?
No.
Okay, well, you'll be up on there anyway.
Good. You don't need to explain to me. Okay.
Who should Backpack talk to about your website?
Greg.
Send that
and Tom Watson is working with, Tom Watson basically built it.
All right.
He works with Greg.
Send us that point of contact. Oh, I know who you mean. All right.
Yeah, it's Greg Martin.
We're good with that. We're good. All right. Well, all right. It's been great.
Well, it has been, and you guys are wonderful. And I just you know, you're the kinds of people that I'm just blessed to get to know. That's the only thing I can say. You know, you just come along at a time in my life when it's like you said. You know, it's just
works. Well.
You just have to figure out it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, please take that to heart.
I do. I have.
I was in the Air Force at 14. My mother got me kicked out at 16. I went in the Army. All right?
Yeah, 14?
So I'm at the VA a lot.
Uh-huh.
And we help a lot of veterans, and I tell them the same thing. It takes the courage of a soldier to recognize that they need help and to ask for it and receive it. It really does.
Well, I've done some volunteer work at the VA here in Richmond.
Okay.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. They really do. It is extremely hard for them to ask for help.
Well, they're like you.
Well,
you're guilty.
It's just the way they are.
That's the way you are.
It's just the way they are.
You.
And they just think they're the ones who're supposed to be out there helping people, and not the other way around.
Well, you're the same way. So well, I'm used to this.
I'm Irish.
I'm used to it.
You see, I'm stubborn. That's all. I'm Irish and I'm stubborn.
It is.
It can be a curse and a blessing. I've learned that over the years.
I know. Don't hesitate a heartbeat. We're going to know each other a long time.
Well,
you know, we're going
I look forward to that. I really do.
We don't
It's been wonderful talking to both of you today. It really has. And yesterday.
Don't hesitate a heartbeat now in calling on us.
And I'll get these people, and I'll get Dave to get in touch with you, and I'll send you this information that you've asked for, and we'll be in touch. You've got my email, I've got yours.
Yeah,
and I've got a lot of research to do here. I want to look up all these websites you've talked about. I want to get involved in that.
Good.
In that rally in New York, definitely.
Give your contacts our private cell, which you have.
Okay. Right.
Which I don't want to put out on air because I don't want somebody telling me I need my breasts enlarged or something. We love you too.
And I'll send you mine too. So
love you too much, Kathleen.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for being on Voices of Global Freedom, Magnified View, and Leading Edge Radio Network syndication. Thank you. God bless you.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you two today, and thank you for all your help.
Be safe.
God bless.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom Radio Special Edition. This is Backpack helping carry your load, and our co-host Yoda bringing the force to patriots. We bring our patriotic conservative audience news you can use and actionable tactics, methods, and strategies to survive and thrive in these dangerous, troubled times. Confidential tips and information, call 619-354-3665, 619-354-3665. We are proud to be syndicated with the popular radio networks, the Spark Radio Network, K98 Talk, Leading Edge Radio Network, Reach Out America Radio, Roar Restoration of America Radio, and